Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I've yet another encounter with a cryptid out of Alabama, known as the Alabama Black Thing. Unlike its cousin, the Alabama Black Thing, this creature, appears to have some level of intelligence and seems to basically try to whistle members of this family out into the woods, perhaps to try and get at them. And then I have another Dogman encounter, folks, or a possible one we'll be reading as well. Either way, let's come along and basically read these accounts of these possible, hairy hominid or basically canine cryptid creatures and have some fun. It smelled really bad, and this is one of the details everyone always mentions when asked about it. It's really terrifying as a kid to hear about it. That's a brief blurb from the article we'll be reading, and gives you an idea that this thing is terrifying. Hi, I'm from the Jones Chapel area in Gulman, Alabama. While growing up, my family and our neighbors swore there was a creature called the Black Thing, a man-like creature covered in hair with long arms. It would whistle and approach my mom and her siblings. I've seen pictures of its footprints and heard something howl loudly as a kid. My dad and a few other people who married into our family swear they have also seen it. Some of them have divorced my family members, including my dad, from my mom. They still insist it exists, so it's not just some family jokes the older people play on the kids. Why would you continue telling a lie as part of a family legend when you're no longer part of the family? I'm 36 now. Even one of my uncles on my dad's side said he saw it when he was with my dad one day. I'm at the age where I could be told the truth if it were some kind of joke played on my younger cousins. Indeed, folks, he's 36 now, so if this was a joke, why hasn't this been revealed to him? No, it would sound like this particular creature here might be some sort of cousin, as I said, to the Alabama White Thing, folks. Now, we have to ask ourselves, is this creature possibly a Bigfoot? Because there have been signs of white Bigfoot in North America, and I said before, folks, that I possibly thought the Alabama White Thing could be one of these Bigfoots. Now, this black-haired, creature? Could it be maybe just a regular Bigfoot that these people have seen? And maybe because they didn't get a good look at it, maybe it's actually just a very dark brown. But then again, they did mention that this thing was black. So it is something to consider. But is it real or not? Let's get back to the article and read the rest of the account. Then maybe we'll come to a few conclusions about it. Different people have told the same story and got all the details right, like a camping trip where it appeared or a day spent working in the garden when it tried to snatch one of my aunts as a child. One story involves a sleepover where my mom and her friends heard something at the window, scratching and whistling. They thought it was my uncle playing a joke, but he came into the room when everyone started screaming, as my mother tells it. They think it learned to whistle because my grandpa was always whistling around his farm trying to lure one of my aunts or uncles away. Now, that is an interesting detail, folks. I think in some Bigfoot reports that, people have heard whistling sounds out in the woods and they attribute it to Bigfoot. Could this, as I said, creature be maybe a Sasquatch? But considering that it seems to basically be somewhat different, I think there's a good chance that these Alabama White Things, both the black and the white, could be Dogman encounters, folks, because they sound rather canine-like to me. Either way, let's finish off this article, and as I said, we can talk about it a little more. It smelled really bad, and this is one of the details everyone always mentions when asked about it. It's really terrifying as a kid to hear about it. People have come from all over the country to hunt it and have found footprints and long, coarse hair on trails Z. There's also a note, folks. I'm familiar with the Alabama White Thing, but this is the first time that I heard of the Black Thing lawn. Indeed, folks, as I said, is there some sort of connection? Are they maybe the same creature? Maybe one white and one black? I don't know. All I can really say, folks, is I think, they could possibly be, dogmen, or maybe they are their own species. Either way, folks, the next article we'll be reading is Eastern North Carolina hog hunter stalked by possible dogman in swamp. Indeed, folks, this guy was stalked by a dogman, but like in the last encounter, folks, he didn't actually get a good look at it. He only basically surmises it could be a dogman because he's read accounts, and, his account sounds very similar to them. Either way, let's continue and read further and hear this, witness's story. Before we read the real meat of the article, we'll read this brief blurb from it first, okay, folks? Heard where you were out in the swamp hunting hogs. You're lucky you made it back. I asked why, and he said that's where the big dogs live. I asked what he meant, and he wouldn't say any more. So, as you can see, folks, people, know that there's something out there. It seems to be an open secret that Dogman seems to be out in that swamp. So, let's get to the real story. I think a dogman was stalking me once, a long time ago when I was hunting wild hogs in the swamps of eastern North Carolina. I was 20 or 21 and loved exploring the swamps where I lived and got into hunting wild hogs because it was a pretty big adrenaline rush. They are pretty aggressive here. I went into the swamp about 10 miles from my house where there were trails on dry land through a mushy area, and it was heavily wooded. I heard something close by and stopped to look and listen and could hear something breathing really deeply and almost growling. Then it stopped. This happened a few more times, so I changed direction to try and get behind it and pin it between myself and the water, but it changed direction with me. So this clearly shows that this creature is intelligent and not just, I think, an animal, folks, because it seems to me that this tactic this hunter used is something most animals would fall for. But this creature clearly knew, well, what he was doing and basically actively, well, did all it could to basically, well, outthink him. Either way, let's get back to the article because I want to hear more of this guy's account. After about an hour of creeping around, I realized it was between me and the way out of the swamp. At this point, I'm starting to get a little scared because I don't think it's a hog at this point anymore. I made the decision to get out of there by wading through the swamp and water up to my chest. I think it tried to follow me, but it wouldn't go in the water. I eventually made it back to where I could get to my truck. A few days later, I told my buddy's cousin about it and all the bones and weird stuff I saw, and he completely changed when I told him where I was and said to stay away from there. I asked him why, and he wouldn't say any more. Fast forward a few years, and I'm at his house, and all of his family was there, and his uncle came and talked to me and said, I heard where you were out in the swamp hunting hogs. You're lucky you made it back. Asked why, he said, that's where the big dogs live. I asked what he meant, and he wouldn't say any more. Now, everyone, it's too bad that this witness here didn't mention these bones or weird stuff he found out in the swamp, because I would love to hear about it. Perhaps these bones are the kills of this particular creature, folks. And the weird stuff, I would love to know exactly what he found weird out in the swamp. Either way, let's get back to the article and then we can talk about this a bit more. I hunted a few more years, but not in that same spot, and eventually started working a different job and got into other hobbies, and also started playing in a working band, and so I had no time for it. Yeah, too bad, folks. As I said, he didn't go back and he didn't basically look at this stuff. He wasn't curious about it, or at the very least, he was too frightened to do so from the sounds of it. Either way, what do you think he found out in that swamp, folks? Because I'm really interested about it. Do you think it was any kind of, maybe debris, perhaps? Because some people have said that Dogman is actually an alien. Perhaps this is where this alien being's UFO went down and now it's living around it. Perhaps. I don't know. But from the sounds of it, it sounds more animal-like than intelligent, but it still sounds maybe far more intelligent than just some random animal. Either way, let's finish off this story now. I completely forgot about that day until a few years ago when I saw a story about Dogman on YouTube, and I immediately remembered that day. I've since heard a lot of different stories similar to mine, and also heard of Dogman encounters around and down the coast from where I live. I stay out of the swamp now and don't go in any further than I have to if I have to, Jay. And now, as I said, folks, let's talk about these encounters. Both encounters mention these humanoid, well, dog-like canine cryptids, folks. The Alabama, well, black thing, and this Dogman, or at least possible Dogman encounter down in, well, Carolina. So, in both accounts, folks, it sounds like these creatures, well, are very similar. Then again, in this particular guy's account, he says that this creature was intelligent enough to basically outflank him a bit and keep moving with him. But unlike the other account, folks, his encounter didn't basically have this creature making whistling noises or basically trying to really do anything more than basically trying to corner him, perhaps, folks. Yes, we have to ask, folks, was this hunter being hunted by this cryptid canine, if that's what it was? And like the last account, folks, it sounds like these creatures do hunt humans. But then again, we have no real proof that they've ever actually harmed anyone at all. It could be that this creature was having fun with this hunter, which is what I mostly basically suspect is what they're doing. Because if they were going around hunting people, folks, this would bring nothing but trouble upon them. Either way, we're at the end of this video, folks, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Remember, I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so make sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'm Chris Williams, and I thank you all for joining me.